Yo, what's good, y'all? I bet y'all didn't thought you was gonna see me again. But you are. Until I find it. New idea to do literally any other what if. I am just going to be doing this what if, honestly. I was going to say, type inside of chat whether or not you guys want me to add a special Uchiha that I use inside of D&D. Because it has a few more abilities. And then, text me which one you want. Now, the choices are Sasuke, Itachi, Shisui, and that's it, honestly. I mean, I don't have any other version of that on, so. Also, type inside the comments if y'all niggas want, what if Deku had 10 shadows? If y'all do, you already know it, you already know what to do, you feel me? I appreciate the views and everything, I looked, I saw that you guys ended up getting me, what is it called, 91 views. If I look again, it should be at 100. I don't even know. But yeah, I just wanted to say, thank you and everything. And without a further ado, alright, so look, right? Basically, Deku over the over the training on some, the main thing that he will be focusing on is his chakra and his physical body. Now, what I mean by that is he's doing things like, feeling the surge through his body, amping his body, and after he learns on some that the more control he has over his chakra, the stronger he's able to make himself. That then, kind of unlocks something inside of him and, makes him want to train harder. Hey, give me a second, cuz let me go ahead and put my phone on D&D so that nobody texts me or anything. But yeah, that basically unlocks something inside of him, and he basically decides to start using his, brain with that to find different types of ways. Like, for example, whenever he goes about his daily life, he'd basically have chakra circulating through his body passively so that he will have, a level of chakra control that is constant. So let's say, for example, he needed to use a move that's like a constant move. Like, I'm not going to give, a representation, but let's say he was using a move that always had to be on and took chakra. He would basically have a better understanding of that due to the fact of whenever he moves around on a daily basis, he moves around the chakra inside of his body. Also, along with that, he also realizes his sensory abilities once he gets, strong enough to actually realize that he has sensory capabilities. So, for example, right, he can sense people inside of the room, count how many people there are outside of the room. Like, there's no one that can really sneak up on him. Like, for example, right, Inko, she decided to, do a little prank since, Mitsuki kind of, told her to do it on some. She basically, peer pressured her into trying to scare Izuku on some. And when she tried on some, he basically just turned around and he was like, "What are you doing?" Like, he straight up looked at her like she was weird. Like, it was one of those looks like when someone catch you doing something weird and then you over there just like, you feel me? But yeah, he'd basically learn how to do things like that. He'd learn, how to train his physical body. He's doing that One Punch Man exercise and everything. You feel me? And eventually, after the 10 months is over or something, he makes his way to UA. Now, everything else goes into canon or something, but like, when Ida yells at him for, mumbling whilst everything in, the room was going on and distracting people, instead of, getting scared and apologizing, he doesn't know why, but he almost feels a need to, like, not even a need, he just straight up looks at him and stares at him. And Ida doesn't know why, but he just gets a very bad presence from Izuku. As Izuku kind of realizes he's being creepy since everybody else is looking at him in the room, and he kind of stops. As he's kind of wondering what the hell that was. Normally, he never gets angry at someone. But for some reason, the only thing that he could think of was, sorry about that, everybody. Unfortunately, I had to go yesterday. It is literally the next day, also, which is unfortunate. But, you know, the what if has to continue. But nah, like I was saying though, Izuku doesn't know why, but he almost felt a type of annoyance he's never felt it before for anybody but Bakugo. I mean, it's not necessarily that he doesn't care about Bakugo anymore. It's just like he just felt so annoyed. He felt the urge to physically harm him. But he kind of decides to push that thought aside on some, and he gets ready to they all line up and everything, like inside of, canyon and everything. They count down, and as soon as they count down, Deku just blasts forward. And I mean, he blasts forward so hard that dust kicks back and everything, as it kind of shocks him how fast he is, that he ends up losing his footing and kind of falling. And, a few kids kind of laugh, and, some people kind of, make sure he's, like, okay. A few people say, are you okay, running past and stuff like that. But he sees this brown-haired girl basically come up to him, and she kind of asks him, is he okay? And he kind of, rubs his arm a little bit. Surprisingly, even though he was going extremely fast, he actually didn't end up hurting himself. So he kind of looks up at her as he's like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. It was just I moved a little bit faster than I usually do. And I didn't expect myself to, actually go so far and so fast. As, she basically says, okay, you got to be careful. Anyway, I got to go back to, basically defeating some of these robots. So basically she runs off on some. And, Izuku kind of just looks at her as she's running off, as he kind of shrugs and gets back up. As when he gets back up, he basically kind of, stretches a little bit, and he runs off again. I ain't even gonna cap. He starts, like, comboing these robots, too. So whilst he's fighting these robots, he's doing things like he's ripping off one of the arms from the robots and using it to smash into another robot. He literally, like, does this, like, okay, so, like, when he gets attacked, he jumps upwards, and then another robot comes over to kind of, slap him over to the side. But right before it hits him, he redirects himself using his body weight and kind of goes straight below its arm. As when he goes back down, he uses his arm to spring himself up, as he uses a chakra enhanced kick so hard that it literally kicks, like, it literally sends the robot's head flying off. As, Izuku kind of, lands on his foot, as he's like, damn! Like, he literally starts yelling. Like, he doesn't say damn, but, like, the kick was literally so hard that he's, like, never kicked that way before. So when he kicked this robot, like, he straight up almost broke his leg. That's how hard he kicked this robot. And it wasn't necessarily that the robot was, like, overly durable or anything like that. It was just from how hard he kicked it. And, the whole thing with, equal forces, half of the force forward, half of the force back, which kind of has him thinking, how hard was he kicking for him to actually be able to hurt himself to that level? As soon as he has that thought, he doesn't know why, but, like, he just jumps upwards as a robot comes down to kind of, like, try and tackle him. As when he comes back down, he doesn't know why, but he blanks out for, like, a split second. And when he passes out, he imagines himself doing hand signs and shooting a fireball. And he can tell it's not him because he looks a lot more tall and, a lot more, like, physically muscly. As soon as he comes back, he kind of notices he's falling back down towards the robot. And he also notices, unlike the other times that he passes out, time didn't actually pass that much. So he decides to bring back that feeling that he had from before, as he weaves these hand signs, as he says fire style, fireball jutsu. And as soon as he shoots this fireball, he shoots a fireball literally so big, it covers like the entire floor and ends up taking a bunch of other robots out too. And this kind of ends up, going like this for a while until eventually he ends up finding out that the more that he uses his abilities, the more physically drained he is. Not only inside the fact of, his quirk stamina being taken up, but it also feels like his body is like dragging kind of whenever he uses too much of this energy. And it makes him kind of feel like he's getting closer and closer to something bad, but he doesn't necessarily know what it is. As he hears a random boy scream, as when he looks over to the side, he kind of sees what is it called? Pieces of a building falling down. And as soon as he sees that on some, he kind of, looks forward as he begins to run. But he kind of realizes he isn't going to get there before the boy gets crushed. As, Izuku's mind kind of goes through this, like, process of, why am I never fast enough to do anything that anybody else can do? Why can't I save him? Why can't I be like All Might? And whilst he's thinking this on some, it kind of makes him like angry a little bit. Like, not necessarily like an anger like at someone else, but it makes him angry at himself in the world. As he kind of keeps repeating, it's not fair, it's not fair, it's not fair. And every single time that he says that over and over and over and over again, it almost feels like a energy is slowly building up inside of his body. As his vision kind of goes wonky, as soon as it does, he kind of closes his eyes, seeing the rubble about to fall onto the dude. As he kind of tumbles over himself, as when he does, he kind of feels himself collide into something. As he opens his eyes to see if he collided into the rubble, but he kind of sees that he ended up colliding into the dude and pushing him out the way before the rubble got him. And as soon as he's, realizing he did that, he kind of looks up and he sees this inside of his eyes, inside of a mirror. As there's just a split second of confusion. As he kind of touches the bottom of his eye, kind of wondering what it is. It's different than anything that he's ever felt. Even more than the energy that he's felt. Which from his visions, he's actually been able to learn that it's called chakra. This energy kind of feels a lot more powerful, focused. It seems like raw power everywhere around his body. Izuku then goes around, running around, attacking different types of robots, saving people. And he also thinks about it, and the more that he thinks about it, he kind of comes to the consensus of, maybe I shouldn't be causing all of this property damage. Because if this entire point is to see if we're worthy of being a hero, what if they decide to test me on something, for example, of like, if we actually care about other people inside of our environment, or if we think about anybody else? As soon as he is thinking of this on some, he kind of gets smacked. And when I say smacked, I mean he gets bitch smacked. Like he gets slapped so fucking hard, his body literally goes flying into a building as he crashes through it. And as soon as he crashes through the building, he kind of slowly gets out of the rubble, pushing off the rubble from himself and everything like that, right? As he doesn't know why, but he feels this overbearing rage. And as soon as he feels this kind of, rage, or even resentment on some, he kind of runs up and he punches the robot as hard as he can, and that causes the robot to literally go flying, even harder than before. Instead of punching off its head, its entire body goes flying directly into another robot, as he jumps up and punches that robot into the other robot, crushing it, causing an explosion. And when he goes back, he doesn't even react to the explosion or the fact that his body's a little bit burnt, as he begins to weave hand signs fast as hell, faster than he's ever weaved them, due to the fact that he just learned that they existed, as he shoots a fireball at another robot. As everything begins to blur together, it's just him destroying these robots. and it's like a rage that he's never felt before. It's something completely different. It feels primal, like it's right, like this rage is a part of him. It's not just something that he's feeling, it's something that he is. As when this is going on, he kind of hears a scream. And when he hears this scream on some, he kind of sees, everybody running away, as he's kind of confused as he looks, and he sees, the 0 pointer kind of coming down. As everybody else is running back, as, he kind of hears people say, "Get out of there," and people are yelling, as a dude kind of, ends up running into him, as he kind of gets up, kind of looking at the dude confused, as he's like, "That's the 0 pointer. That doesn't give us any points. That's the most dangerous robot here. There's no point in fighting it. Run." And as soon as he says that, he kind of gets up and just runs off. As Izuku kind of goes to turn around on some, as when he does, he kind of, starts walking away. And when he starts walking away on some, he kind of stops to himself and thinks, if this was a villain, if this villain was threatening everybody, could potentially hurt any and everybody that I cared about, the people that I'm supposed to protect as a hero, that would make me a failure. As he thinks to himself, as he's like, what would All Might do? As when he thinks of this on some, he kind of, turns back around and kind of, cuffs his fists together on some, as he kind of runs up fast as hell, as he kind of just jumps upwards. He catches himself on the ledge of a building, and he literally launches himself off of that building onto another building, feet first, and he launches himself with his feet from that building. And as soon as he launches himself from that building on some, he kind of begins to wave his hand signs again, right? And when he does, he says, "Fire style, great fireball jutsu." As he doesn't know why, but this one, it feels a lot more powerful. He can feel his chest expand. He can feel a heat inside of his chest. As when he does, he blows, like he basically shoots out the fireball. As he sees a giant ass, and I mean like a giant ass fireball, maybe like the size of two humans stacked on top of each other, go towards the robot. As it blows up and kind of sends him flying back a little bit, as he kind of catches himself on a wall using chakra enhancement, which he learned over the, or tree walk, my fault, that he learned over the 10 months, not 6 months, 10 months. As when he kind of, sees the dust settle, he kind of sees that fireball, he kind of sees that the fireball did absolutely nothing to the 0 pointer. As he kind of looks a little bit shocked, but he kind of, he kind of shakes his head a little bit as he jumps off of the building and kind of goes to punch the robot. And as he does go to punch the robot, also I'm adding in like OC things, by the way, so like this might not be canon, but a small robot jumps out of its arm and kicks him inside of the face as he goes straight towards the ground and crashes on the roof of a building. As when he kind of, grabs his face a little bit, he kind of sees that on top of it being durable and as big as it is, it also has little minion robots for if anybody tries to climb on and then, try to destroy it from the inside, or was to try and burrow themselves into the robot. As soon as he thinks of that, he kind of smiles, feeling a sort of, not even confidence, a sort of cockiness that he's never felt before. As he runs up, kicks himself off of the rail, and punches the robot. As when he punches the robot, he sees a bunch of other robots begin to form, like, off of the 0 pointer's body. As he kind of begins to, fight these robots, kicking them, punching them, destroying them. I'm talking about full strength type stuff. Like, he's going all out. As when he's going all out, he kind of jumps up as he comes back down with a hard as hell punch, hard enough to even bury his hand inside of the metal. As soon as his hand gets buried inside of the metal, he kind of realizes he can't take his hand out. And as soon as he realizes that, it's too late. As he gets hit with a giant ass electrical blast to the chest, which causes him to go flying back. Give me a second, I'll be right. Alright, y'all. I'm back. I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to leave again, but I am going to promise that, I'll try not to. Um, but yeah, basically, he gets hit with a big as hell ball of lightning to the chest as he goes flying back. Now, the ball of lightning isn't lethal, but it locks up his muscles to the point where he feels like he can't even move. As he goes flying down directly into the ground, into a building, through the building, into the building, into a wall, through the wall, onto the ground as he kind of rolls a little bit. As when he kind of looks up on some, he kind of feels a sense of hopelessness. He tried his hardest. He did everything that he was supposed to. He used every ability that he, could use on some. But even then, it still isn't good enough. As he's ready to give up, and as soon as he is, he hears a scream. As he kind of sees the girl that he saw from before under, buried under rocks. As he kind of thinks about it. If he stays here, he could potentially get himself killed if he goes hard enough. And obviously there's heroes, but what if they're not able to come there? Like, get there fast enough. But at the same time, if he leaves, she could die. This robot is only a few seconds away from actually hurting her. And as soon as he thinks of that, he kind of comes to a conclusion. The conclusion that he comes to on some is basically, even though I'm not strong, even though I'm not able to beat this robot normally, I will try my hardest and I will do everything that I can no matter what. As when he's thinking of this, he kind of notices his vision is getting blurry and everything. As, he kind of says, I'm pushing my quirk. And when he kind of realizes this on some, he kind of gets up slowly. And he starts to get flashes of memories. Instead of blacking out, he kind of gets flashes of memories as he decides to run back. As, Uraraka is kind of screaming for help and everything. The heroes are about to get involved. Like, they're thinking, oh, he's running away. He's definitely not getting into UA. As, All Might inside of his small might form is kind of looking at this as he's like, I didn't ever think that he was this type of person. As he pauses, as when everybody's about to intervene, he's like, stop. As when he says stop on something, they all look at him like he's crazy. They're like, what do you mean stop? This girl's in trouble and he's not going to help her. So what are we supposed to do? You want us to just let her die? As, All Might kind of smiles. Excuse me. All Might kind of smiles and he kind of says on some, trust young Midoriya. As they all look at him like he's crazy, as they're like, what do you mean trust him? He's obviously running away. He doesn't want to get involved with this. As, All Might kind of looks as he says, look closer. As when they kind of look closer, they realize he's not running away. He's running towards a building. As, on some, they decide to, kind of, sit there as one of them kind of say, okay, we'll trust you. And as soon as they say that, he runs on top of the building. As, All Might kind of, looks at this entire situation as he smiles. As he says, if he would have been able to accept my quirk, or if he would have accepted my quirk, I would have definitely given it to him. He would have definitely been the holder of One for All. I would not choose someone like that lightly. As one of them say, then why does it look like he's, about to do something stupid? He obviously can't beat them. He might as well just get the girl and then leave. And then All Might kind of laughs as he says, that's a foolish thought. Even though he isn't able to save her, he's going to try his best. As he kind of smiles on some shit, as no corny shit, he kind of says he's going to go plus ultra. As, Deku kind of runs up the building and kind of, chakra enhances his leg to their fullest on some shit. All the way to the point where he can, see the veins, because he has on, shorts. I'm going to say he has on shorts. and like a shirt inside of this version or something. So he can like, you can like see the veins slowly popping out of his what is it called, legs, from how much, you know, they're being stressed by the chakra that's flowing through them. As you know, he kind of jumps off hard as hell. Actually, so hard it literally breaks that part of the building that he was on, like the wall and the wall behind that. There's so much fucking air pressure that he literally kicks back and just breaks everything behind him on some. As he kind of begins to weave hand signs slowly and intricately, because it's like he's thinking it's a move that I've never used before. I'm going to have to go full power with this. As, you know, at the exact same time of him saying this, All Might says, plus Ultra. As Deku says, Fire Style, Dragon Flame Jutsu. And when he says that, he shoots out a fireball so goddamn big. Like, it literally looks like if you were to put a one-story building and then put another one-story building on top of that. As when he does that on some, it kind of breaks, like it literally creates a hole inside the zero pointer. As Deku reaches back as far as he can and punches that robot as hard as he can. I'm talking about full strength with every last bit of chakra he has inside of him. As when he does that on some, he ends up literally shattering every bone inside of his arm and the side of his shoulder on some. And he literally screams out in pain. As when the zero pointer comes down to kind of, you know, fall a little bit, he kind of also goes down. As he kind of, you know, tries to catch himself onto a building using wall walk on his hands. But he literally has so little chakra at this point that it literally just like slides straight off and he falls down towards the ground. And, you know, he kind of falls down onto the ground. A building falls on top of him. And the zero pointer falls on top of him. As everybody's looking at this, as you know, all of the heroes kind of go to rush out and everything. Even All Might is looking a little bit concerned, but he stays in place on some shit, believing in him. As when everybody is thinking that he's dead, he kind of slowly rises out of the rubble on some, from underneath the zero pointer. As he kind of slowly begins to walk towards Uraraka, as she sees like blood dripping from his head, like a bone is sticking out from his arm and everything. His legs look bruised and bloodied, like there's blood just dripping down everywhere. As he literally picks up the rubble from her and throws it off with the last remaining bit of strength that he has. As he looks down at her and says, "Are you okay?" And as soon as he says that, his vision just goes black and he passes out. That's where I'm going to leave it for today. If you guys enjoyed, you know, go ahead and, you know, hit the like button or subscribe button if you want to. If you want to see more of my videos, you're going to have to press the bell, because that actually notifies you whenever videos come out. I don't really care if you do, but if you decide to, go ahead and do it. I don't care. I appreciate the 95 views from last time that I checked, and yeah, I hope that, you know, I hope with everything that goes on, I can continue making videos for you guys. And yeah, that's all I really had to say. So, cue the outro.